ladies, it's just, the thing is that it is a different dynamics when you are building a business and building a family. And that's what we want to share with today. And thankfully, again, Monique and Megan have both experienced that. So I'm going to let them dive in just a little about their story. Like, all I want to know is like, really the question is like, when did you decide to be a entrepreneur? Like, when did that happen? And why did that happen? And then we're going to talk about the challenges, that you've had from your child, like maybe your one experience, that you had to do emergency babysitting, so to speak, that you have to sneak them somewhere, do somewhere that as a mother, we have to be able to juggle that. And then perhaps a victory, something that you've done that your children, you know, that you've celebrated motherhood, parent. And then last will be your secret to success. For that, what would you share with the other mothers that are, trying to juggle both of them, or the ones that have, just in business and that could share with other mothers that are, juggling their business. So let's start with Megan. We started with Monique earlier. Let's start with Megan. Good morning, Megan. How are you doing?
Hi, good morning. Oh, I'm so good. I'm so grateful to be with you ladies this morning. And hopefully I can remember all those questions that you just
I'll
asked.
ask them again.
Okay, good. So if I start to go on tangents, please, Desiree, interrupt me and chime in. But my entrepreneurship journey started 12 years ago. And I was single at the time. I wasn't even married. And I was fresh out of graduate school. I got my master's degree from USC, and I thought I was going to become a counselor in Los Angeles and, just do this great work. And fortunately and unfortunately, it was in 2008, 2009, the same year, California laid off 30,000 teachers and counselors. So it was about 6 months of, looking for a full-time job and, not one interview, not one. And I applied to hundreds. And so I thought, okay, I was always the kid that, did the lemonade stand thing and would go door to door selling my artwork to my neighbors. And that was a part of who I was. I had just pushed that down for so long because of just never feeling like I could, never feeling like I was enough, until it was the only option. I had to figure it out. So I started my first business in health and wellness. I had been a personal trainer for years and taught at fitness and nutrition academies. And at that point, I just really wanted to help people get healthy. So I connected with a mentor and started working with my health and wellness business, started learning how to build a client base. And in my first month, out of pure desperation, I made $1,800. And I was like, at that time, to not being able to make rent, to being 6 figures in student loan debt, no source of income, to me, that was a lot of money.
Still is.
I was hosting foreign exchange students in my apartment just to make rent. And I know Monique loves that story because I didn't realize I was a real estate investor goddess at that time. I was just trying to not avoid eviction from my apartment. And so just applying the same principles step by step and taking these baby steps every single month of getting a little bit better, a little bit better. It went on to produce $4,000 profit, then 5, 6, 7, 8, 5K months. And then eventually over the past 12 years, it's produced over 8 figures in revenue. So I share that because it was really all about cultivating passive income. Once I became a mom, I had to take time off with my first daughter. I had no idea what the flip I was doing. I was so overwhelmed as a young mom. And so I did. And that business supported the family. And I would go to these moms groups and I would see these moms, with their 6-week-old babies crying because they'd have to go to work. They'd have to leave their babies at home with a daycare professional or, in a daycare and go back to work. And I kept getting this nudge of somebody's got to do something for these moms. Like they have to know there's another way. They can create their own business if they want to and they can be a full-time parent. They don't have to sacrifice missing out on the milestones. And so that was the beginning of me creating Soul Success. And I just thought it was going to be this, small consulting company helping moms build businesses from homes. And then eventually it turned into events, in-person events and retreats, and now online events and summits where we've impacted thousands of women, helping them scale their business past 6 to even 7 figures and beyond, without, again, having to sacrifice the things that are important to them. And so a lot of the work that I do is really helping women manifest without the hustle, but more so listening to their divine feminine, listening to their intuition, listening to that little nudge that's saying, maybe I should turn left when I normally turn right. Maybe if I do something a little bit different and honor how I feel without having to listen to the logic, because the logic's going to say, well, turning right is shorter, turning right is familiar, turning right is comfortable, turning right is going to get you there faster. But if my inner knowing is saying, if I turn left, there might be something more out there for me that I've never uncovered before. So that is the work that we do with Soul Success. We're launching a podcast next week. And it's just, the more that I do this work, the more that I'm finding cultivating these really intimate and beautiful relationships with women is such a gift that I think our planet really needs right now, is more women having conversations like you're creating, Desiree, and bringing women together on Mother's Day and sharing our gifts instead of feeling like we have to compete against one another. Let's lock arms, let's connect, let's support one another. And that to me is true ascension. So that's a little snippet of what I do. We also have a book and courses and a community that, again, women just really, share their struggles, their challenges, but also share their gifts and their abilities for impacting one another.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. It's very, very heartfelt. One question before I ask Monick the same question is that you make it sound so easy. So I know you do, doesn't she, ladies? I mean, it's like, oh yeah, I did this and that. It's like
it definitely wasn't easy.
I know. But what is it? And so most women, I feel like if you're working, if you're putting the time and the energy into building a business, you want to be as successful as possible. Even if you feel that you don't need with so many dollars, there's always gives you that much of more abundance to share with other organizations and to be able to give back. So what is the one thing you think that you've implemented, though, that's enabled you to go from where you went to 7-8 figures in your business? Because some people work years, a whole lifetime in a business. I'm sure they work just as hard and they're just as talented, but that needle doesn't cross that 7-8 figure line. So what do you think it was about you that you had that made that difference?
Oh, that's such a good question. Thank you so much for asking that, because, I think there's been a ton of resistance over the past decade in me feeling like I had to get it right. Like it had to be perfect. And I had to be the smartest, and I had to be the best, and I had to be, the prettiest, all these things, this box that as entrepreneurs and as moms and as women, we often put ourselves in. And I was never any of those things. And so my biggest struggle was the jealousy and the comparison and the feeling like I was never going to be enough. And so for me, number one, how do I access more joy and pleasure in what I do? So that is the divine feminine that we're talking about, is aside from feeling like I have to be perfect and get it right, how do I have more freaking fun? How do I have fun? And the more that I started to ask myself that without having to feel like I had to do what Desiree's doing or Monique's doing or Regina or Kizzy, like they're doing it in their way, I get to do it in my unique way. And if I mess up, amazing, because I'm going to learn so much more from it. But I think the biggest thing for me was I knew I wasn't going to be perfect, but I sure as hell was going to be consistent. and I was going to say yes every single day, even when the logical mind was saying, you should go back to school and get your doctorate, or you should go and get a job because it has benefits and retirement and 401k plans. And all of this chatter would come up every single day, but I had to be willing to show up and still say yes every single day, even if I wasn't the smartest, the prettiest, the best. It was that saying yes every single day consistently. And eventually, when you say yes every single day, the doors will open for that big quantum leap because you're available to it. So I don't know how much more you want me to answer that question, but consistent.
Okay, so you're saying,
Sure.
okay, so it wasn't necessarily a tool or a class or a, like, so we say yes every single solitary day. And many of us do. As some of these ladies show up, I see them all the time. Is it a skill set? Is it there's something that a link, there's something that still pushes the monetary, the cash register. What got that cash register ringing? I guess maybe that's another way of putting, like, what was it that made the money come in? Was it you hit a product or a program that just flew off the table, or you hit a group, a niche that made it fly off the table, that you're just really right on target with the moms, or you at the great time in the right place, the right niche? Because I speak to the ladies about having a niche, being focused, getting a tool, their videos or podcasting or written words, or finding a medium which they can really reach their target market. So what do you think, like, what was like that the first million, when you crossed the first 7-figure mark, what was it that made that happen?
Yeah, for me, it was really figuring out how to speak to the pain point of the ideal client. And so the first million was actually before Soul Success. And I have to be honest with you guys in saying that I completely burnt out, even though, because when we think about, generating 7 figures, I think often we tend to think that the person's got it all figured out. And that was honest, to be totally, I want to say that it wasn't, but it was pure hustle for me. It was pure, like, I had no other way, or I was going to be living with my parents for the rest of my life, or couch surfing for the rest of my life. Like, I had to figure it out because there was this deep knowing inside of me that I was designed for more. And so when I hit that first 7 figures, it was honestly, Desiree, it was showing up consistently every single day, figuring out how to solve the problem of my ideal client's pain point and speak to them and help them. But when I became a mom, I burnt out, and I threw my hands up and I was like, I can't do this anymore, because I thought I had to hustle. And so with my second business, it's really all been about pleasure and joy and what lights me up, and breaking the rules, not doing what all of these gurus are telling me I have to do, but doing what feels good for me, and showing up every single day. And that has been longevity for me. And I'm so much more lit up now. I can't wait to get my head off the pillow to start the co-creative process. So yeah, that 7 figures was, it was great. It was saying yes every single day, but it was a lot of hustle. And eventually I couldn't do it anymore. And so the second business is now all about, how do I access that divine feminine within, and do things that light me up by breaking the rules and listening to that inner knowing inside that's nudging me.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. So that is definitely a distinction. Again, I hear that you say staying focused, showing up, but also that niche market, which I speak to, having a niche market. Who are you talking to, and addressing their pain point, and then being able to resolve that. And then to know that what happens when you do have this, when you just exhausted and you break out of it, then now you can just kind of, gives you an opportunity, gives you a space to reinvent yourself. When it happens, it's that wake up call that says, okay, I've done this, but I can't do it forever. So thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, Monick, and we'll come back. We got more. Monick, your story, you were born an entrepreneur, or what made you decide to create Real Estate Investment Goddesses? I think I knew you around that time, and it was just really interesting to hear that dream. And now I see that it's come so far into fruition. So thank you.
Yeah. So I was not born an entrepreneur. I was not like selling things all the time or like thinking about ways to generate business. I was actually a little I was a bookish. I read books. I was an introvert, I was a reader, a lot in my head. And I was a rule follower. And when my parents growing up, I'm a first generation American, my parents were from Haiti. They're always saying, Monique, you can be anything you want, but in parentheses, it's like as long as you're a doctor, lawyer, professor, engineer. Like that was what I got. I mean, that was success. And I was like, okay, well, I guess out of all of those, I'm more into the arts and humanity. I guess I'll be a lawyer. And so I went to law school, and I got a, partnership track and a big law firm, and that was a path I was on. I was miserable, absolutely miserable on that path. But I that was what I'd been taught and what I knew. So I tried different jobs within law and different firms, and to try to find something that was a fit. But actually, entrepreneurship, although I did, like, try to do a couple side hustles though too. I forgot that I had at one point, I was trying to do this, like, jewelry business, like, online jewelry business, and I became a Reiki master, and it was kinda like I was doing little things on the side, but like, in my head, I was like, I had this identity as a lawyer, and that's what I was. I was just trying to find the way to be happy in that space. And, my foray into entrepreneurship actually came with motherhood. So when I was 5.5 months pregnant, my boss at the time, I'd gone from one big firm to another big firm. I thought maybe the smaller firm will be a better fit, and which ended up just being a little less money with a lot more work, but still that was where I was, and I was pregnant, so I probably wasn't going to go anywhere. And my boss called me into his office, and I thought I was expecting him to give me a bonus because I'd been working so hard. And I was 5.5 months pregnant, and instead of getting that bonus, I got fired. And which was obviously a shock. It was also a gift. It did not feel like a gift at the time, but in hindsight, that was the biggest gift he gave me. And so I was, I got fired like the week that my belly popped out. Until then, I just was looking fat, and then I was so excited that my belly had popped out. I was like, "Oh, yay! Now I look pregnant." And then I got fired. I was like, "Oh no! Now I look pregnant. Who's gonna hire me?" And so I ended up going, I'm just gonna wait until after I give birth. I have a short maternity leave, and then I will look for a new job. Well, like Megan, in 2008 and 9 was like a bear. My daughter was born in late 2008. She was born in August of 2008. Within a month of her birth, the markets were in free fall. A couple months after that, my husband was a graphic designer. His graphic design business was down 90%. So it was not a time when I was able to find a new job, and entrepreneurship. So we just went into entrepreneurship. It was actually, we had a couple real estate um, properties that we held. We ended up selling one, and we started to flip houses when houses were on sale. And and we just kind of, and I also became a coach. Um, I did like a life coaching certification. I ended up kind of like falling into coaching women around money, and I had been studying the divine feminine too. So Megan's a soul sister. I'm so happy she's here. But what she does with the divine feminine in the business realm, that's what I do. The divine feminine in real estate investing. It's like helping women. So how do we do this with, through pleasure and through intuition and, um, you know, and sisterhood. And those were things that I've been studying myself since 2004. So I just started applying that, and that intuitive path led me, and strange twist after strange twist to creating the business that I have now. Um, and eventually, you know, we were flipping, and then we decided we were going to do more buy and hold, and we ended up bringing now we you know, as real estate investors, we were syndicating, bringing groups of investors together to purchase larger properties. And you know, as I got more into the real estate world, just there were no women. I just was not seeing women doing this, and I got a divine download. I got the intuitive push to create Real Estate Investor Goddesses, like bring women into the room, bring women into this table, help them to create its passive income stream so they could have they don't have to hustle, they don't have to trade their time for money, they could create financial freedom. So that's how I got here, I guess. Yeah.
How you got here?
Mhm.
You know, you ladies, you speak to it, Monique. You know, you speak to the intuitive part of it, how you just kind of flow to it. And I know that some people say this is a great idea, this is a market, this is a need, this is a plan, a program I want to produce to be able to fill that. So there's that part of it that goes along with it. But what did you feel was one of the most important things or characteristics that brought you to your success? You know, whether it's the personality, whether it's a niche, whether it was again a tool. I know you invest a lot in training and coaching and
I
mentoring.
I
Um,
do.
is
Yeah.
it hours though, or is it the focus during the hours? Because a lot of people say, "Well, I did 10 hours a day," and they probably don't accomplish as much possibly that you do in 1 or 2 hours. So, what is that you do differently that moved your needle?
Well, there were two things that made it, I think, that got me to the point where it was like they got to the from struggle to and then seven-figure mark. So what got me initially to this six-figure mark, I think they're different
Plateaus.
different jumps. Yeah. So the figure was focus. So before that, I had been doing a lot of different things. So I was doing real estate, and I had, um, we had the flipping we were doing and some investing, and I was coaching, and I was doing Reiki for people, and I was like doing angel things, and I've got a yoga teacher certification, and I got an interior design certification, and I was working on an app. I had like an app company with my brother for parents, and I had like
Oh
so
my
many
God.
hats I was wearing, and I
Multiple
was
streams of income.
all over the place. No, not really. It was not like mold. It
I
was just
know, I know. I'm being
like it was just
sarcastic.
the like my focus was nowhere. I mean, ever. I was just like all over the place. And I remember going to this Brian Tracy event that my friend Kyle Wilson put on, like Success Academy. And the main takeaway I got is like successful people like focus on one thing. And I like it just I had to sit with it because there were all things that I love. Like I loved yoga, and I loved interior design, and I loved this, and I loved my brother who's an app company we were working on, and he has cancer too at the time, but I was like, if I was going to be about one thing, I was like, my one thing is real estate, and I had to then say no to all those other things that I enjoyed, and they were fun, but they were not like helping me. They were just taking me off of the path of the main thing. So, and I had some hard conversation, especially with my brother, because I was, we were partners in this business. I was like, I can't. This is not the thing for me. So, but once I was able to just channel, that really help me jump. And then the big shift too was in learning sales and making and sales, which had like just such a, I don't know, it had like a bad taste in my mouth, right? Like, but I realized that it wasn't about trying to sell anybody something, especially something they didn't need, but it's like, how can I serve? How can I be of service? How can I help solve problems for people, and I had these solutions to help people solve problems. And when I stopped making it about me and I made it about them, which is ultimately what sales is really. And I was just like, there's not sales conversations, there's service conversations, right? Like, how can I make it about them? That was like, that changed everything. And it was a mindset shift. And I'd gone to this sales training, and when I really got that. And I remember coming back from that, and just, I was walking my dog around, in my block, and a neighbor seen on Facebook I was doing real estate. She's like, you're doing real estate, right? And I was like, yeah, I'm doing real. She's like, oh, okay. And I have this problem, and we just sold this property, blah 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 blah. Like, bitch, I was like, what? She was like, I have a question about. I was like, come walk with me, and we walked around the block. By the time we'd like come around the block, I had $140,000 of investment money from her, that she was like, okay, I'm giving you 100 for,
Oh my
like,
God.
and then in that 2 weeks, I raised like $2.5 million. And then actually in the next week. And then we were, it's gotten to this point. It's like, where it's like, I think the last raise we did, it was we needed 4 million, and literally just like 10 minutes to bring that in. So, and it was, but all of that has been really about, okay, just like, let me serve, but complete non-attachment to what it's like. It's not at all about me. It is all about the other person, and that has been the game changer.
That is so, so, so amazing. And it's so important because I think all of us see so many women doing so many different things. And there's that theory about multiple streams of income. And that's why I said it sarcastically, because many times it doesn't mean multiple businesses, and I tell the ladies is that maybe you have a business, you have a umbrella, and from which that umbrella, you can have different streams. Like you have your umbrella of real estate investor and goddesses. And under that umbrella is the investments, it's your masterminds, it's your events and things of that type. But you're still your umbrella says real estate on it. And so that's what I want to share with ladies is that, and you get that basic umbrella done first, and that, those cash registers chinging first, and then you bring in little of this and little of that. You have items that you sell on your website, you have other things as well, but you've got a solid foundation of umbrella, and it's about real estate with women. And so you have a target market, and so many people are hesitant and frightened, I know you find that as well, to niche their market. They want to serve so many people, they don't keep realizing that it just takes, one niche to be able to fulfill your dreams. And then the sales, again, I don't look at sales as well. I don't look at it as sales. I look at it as opportunities, sharing opportunities. If I got this great, dress or whatever like that, I would gladly share with you, okay, where I got it on sale, blah, blah, blah. And with that, you'll feel the enthusiasm, you'll feel the sincerity, and you'll want to participate as well. And that's the way we look at our businesses. That's what we should, is that you have a gift that can solve someone's problem or make them better, happier, richer, more enlightened, more fulfilled, whatever. And you're sharing that gift with them. So thank you. I'm just want to reiterate that, because that's what everybody needs to hear, is that it can, yes, there's tools, other things along the way, but those are two major game changers. So thank you. And okay, so now I'm going to ask both of you ladies a question. So that's your story. Challenges. Share with us one challenge that you come across that that's familiar, and how you've just overcome that challenge. Megan?
Okay, so one challenge that I've overcome, is that what I'm answering?
Yes.
Oh man, how much time? There have been so many.
That's why we limit it to one.
Oh man. Okay.
Challenges every day, right, ladies? I mean, just my goodness. So this one.
Yeah, for me, the surrendering was a huge challenge for me. And what I mean by that is, when I had built my first business, I kind of made up this story that that I was lucky. Like it was like a 1 in a million chance that it would happen. And so I had to hold on to it. Otherwise, it wasn't going to happen again. That was like the self-sabotage, the mindset hurdle that I was up against when I had my first daughter. And so I kept trying to go back and make it work. I kept trying to go back and do what all the other people who were doing what I was doing were doing. And I kept getting hurdle after hurdle. I kept trying to launch a program and it was crickets. I kept trying to launch events. It was crickets. I kept trying to create things and nothing was converting because again, it was a should rather than a get to. So when I had my second daughter, it was right around when it was like maybe a couple of years after I had built my second business and it was evolving into what it is now. But I want to go back to just like the breaking the rules and listening to my intuition. And then also, how can I integrate what lights me up, my divine purpose, my joy with being of service to other people and helping other people. So I just kind of let go of any attachment to what my business should be and what other people are doing. And instead just started creating what lit me up and what brought me joy. And even like when I was in the primary years of soul success, I kept hearing, oh, you have to do, advertising and Facebook ads and Instagram ads and, all of these crazy techie sales funnels. And so I would hire a marketing team. We would, create all of these very complex sales funnels. And at the end of it, nothing was converting. Nothing. I lost thousands and thousands of dollars and like, what is going on here? And then I realized that, okay, my true gift, my true passion is to connect with people, is to build relationships with people. Well, why am I trying to hook people with cold advertising when I haven't really built that true heart-to-heart, soul-to-soul human connection with people? And so going back to breaking the rules, I just threw the towel and I was like, every business coach is going to hate me for this, but I'm going to go back to what I know. And what I know is building relationships with people and helping them. And then saying, who do you know? Like, who wants to be a part of this community? And so it was really the affiliate marketing that became the backbone to soul success, because it's all about building those intimate, connected relationships with people, understanding what they're struggling with, what is their pain point, and how can I best be of service to you? And doing the market research and then creating programs based on cultivating these relationships, is responding to the emails, responding to the DMs, really hearing what my audience wants and how can I best support them. Because when I was doing the advertising route and trying to figure out like how to hook people, it never felt true to who I am. Sales used to be a dirty word for me, going back to what Monick was saying. And I had a tough time with it because it was like pure masculine energy. But once I transmuted that into, how do I just be of service? How do I have fun? And how do I help people? Even when, the marketing coaches and the business coaches might be saying, don't do that, instead do this, because this is what the analytics will tell you. This is what the numbers will tell you. That was not my deep sense of connection. Like, I'm not connected to that, but I am connected to people and their stories. So going back to the relationships and how to be creative and building more authentic relationships with people was the key to us scaling our soul success business.
Thank you. Okay, so Monick, the one challenge that you have do you find? And then you see a lot of women share experience as well.
Yeah, there are a lot of challenges, but I'm going to share a parenting challenge. So, oh my puppy has just come to, wanted to
That's
come
on your parenting
and
challenge.
I know that's my fur baby. So I remember, I mean, one of the challenges is, especially when I was, you work from home, is having like that break and being able to really, for me, it was like really being able to have time where I was focusing on my family. And I would just, I said, like, even as a little kid, I'm in my head. I was gonna get into the books. I get into what I do, and I just sort of space out. But I love the real estate invest. I love what I do so much that I could do it all day, every day. And I work with my husband, and so it was very all consuming. And I remember my daughter, especially when she was little, she'd like have to she'd take her little hands and turn my head and go, "Mama," and I realized like she'd been calling my name for a while. I was like, oh, it was like in the background, I was like, "Mama, Mama, Mama, Mama," and she's like, "Mama," like I want your attention. And she'd literally have to like take my face. And I was like, "Oh, I'm not very present to you, am I?" Right? Like it's just like so in my head, and business can be so all consuming. So the challenge has been, and it's definitely still a challenge that I work on, is like, how can I create business in such a way that I can, when it's time for me to be in business mode, then I'm doing that. When it's time for me to be in family mode, then I can be present. And partly that's been being aware of that. Partly the solution has been creating a business that's truly a business, so it works increasingly without me. I'm not every part of it, and so like building team. And now I have, that we have 9 people working for us, and my husband and I are in the business, but we have 9 other people, and a lot of it is starting to work without me. So I was able to go at the end of last year. So we took 2.5 weeks in November to go to Mexico, and I could really be there. And at Christmas and New Year, it's like, okay, I'm taking 2 weeks, and I could really be there. So it's still a work in progress. It's definitely not perfect, but I think that challenge of being present to what I'm doing. So being where I'm at, doing what I'm doing, either being present to the work when I need to be, or present to my family. Um, that's been the challenge, and what I continue to work on every day.
Well, I think I appreciate that because that is a challenge for many people. Just being, people call it that life balance, and I don't think there's such a thing. That you kind of have to be. It's a life, you work through, again, like you said, this and work through that. But you can be both. You can be both, and you can be successfully be both. And that's a really a good point to know that you can still accomplish your goals and still be the most amazing family mom. Okay, there's a little one. There's a little one. Hi there.
I was
And
like, this is exactly what we're talking about right here.
so we said, dogs can get no problem. That's exactly what we're talking about. So victories. Share with us one victory that truly was a victory that you'll never. Is that a light bulb moment that went off in your business? One victory. I know there's been many, but one. Megan.
Oh, well, yes, there have been many. I will say, getting to travel. Two of the best months I've ever had was when I was in a different country and with my family, and took the whole month off.
Wow.
So I would say for me, having that sense of freedom to be able to live where I want to, work when I want to, and be with my family, and also still impacting people that to me is all I could ever ask for as an entrepreneur. So.
That makes it all worthwhile. What about you, Monique?
Yeah, I think I have to agree. I mean, it's like when last year, even in this crazy COVID year, it's just going to Mexico, and then we started the year in Australia. But just having created this lifestyle where we can be away, because after real estate, or maybe before real estate, my deep love is travel. So just kind of creating having been able to create a life um, that where I can be, have time with my family, hopefully be an example to my girls, what's possible, and my son, and just, that's a victory. And then obviously every time one of my goddesses gets a deal, and then she starts creating passive income, and she starts creating a lifestyle for herself and her family, like that's everything.
Fantastic. Okay. And again, one secret to success. So what would you like to say to the ladies as far as to the secret to success? What would you say, Megan?
Oh, man, I would say having fun.
That too.
This is it. I'm about to be pulled away in 2 minutes. Having fun. I need to leave it at that. My theme this year is all about having fun, and it has brought so much more fulfillment and joy and success than anything else. I'm like, why wasn't this my theme 12 years ago? So I'm just going to leave it at having fun.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I think like pleasure is definitely like focusing, like what feels good, pleasure, fun too. I kind of want to integrate more fun as well, but I've definitely had the pleasure path, which I teach a lot about, that has been everything. And then listening to my intuition, listening to that, knowing that it knows the shortcuts. It's like that. My life GPS knows the quickest way from, where I am to where I want to be. So that's it.
Fantastic. I want to thank you.